So today, I decided to take 32 of the most popular professional wrestlers of all time and put them in a ranking system from underrated to overrated. Now, again, this is my personal wrestling opinion, but I'm sure it's going to cause some interesting discussion in the comments. Guys, before we get into the video, though, do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment on this video on what your opinion is. Did I put people in the wrong spot? Do you completely disagree with my order? Do you think John Cena is heavily underrated? Let me know in the comments. Now, onto the video. All right, so starting off the video, we've got AJ Styles. AJ's had one of the most incredible careers any wrestler coming through the indies and doing it the hard way has. He's really conformed to the WWE way, but still being able to have his own swing on things. I think he's properly rated. I don't think AJ Styles is, doesn't need any love. He's really got his lane with the OC, and he's been a multiple-time champion. I really think he's definitely properly rated. Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant is one of those ones. He is a legend of the business, but I don't think people give him enough credit for the leadership that he had in the locker room and how he helped develop other characters. He was really that first genuine locker room leader. I think Andre the Giant needs a lot more love from the wrestling community, so I'm going to put him with needs a bit more love. He's not underrated, but he needs some love. Becky Lynch. I love Becky Lynch, but right now I feel everything that she has done in professional wrestling, I think people really are starting to get stale on her, and maybe it's her character. Maybe she needs to go back to that heel phase and really make sure people remember why she is one of the best to do it. I think Becky Lynch is absolutely underrated. She helped discover the women's revolution, and she was the one that everyone said, you know what, nothing's there. She's never going to be something, and she became one of the most dominant women in the division. Booker T. I think Booker T fits right in that middle sector. He was a multiple-time world champion, 5-time, multiple-time world champion. He did amazing things in WCW. He's really helping the kids out in the developmental area right now down in NXT. I can't personally stand him on commentary, but honestly, Booker T is properly rated. I don't think he's actually the most overrated person or heavily underrated. He's just that perfect median of what we needed from his character at that time. Oh, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart. He is the first one that's going into the overrated category. Bret Hart had that look back in the day, and he had that stigma and persona. But when people say John Cena has that magical golden shovel to bury talent, well, if that's the case, he inherited that from Bret Hart. Bret Hart was one of the hardest people to work with in the locker room. Watch any documentary, either from WWE or from anyone else, from A&E, and everyone virtually says the same thing. Listen to a podcast. Bret was so hard to work with. He would refuse to take certain bumps. He would refuse to do the job. And at the end of the day, that's ultimately what led to the Montreal Screwjob, because Bret wouldn't do business properly. He thought so highly of himself, and honestly, at this point, he's just become this miserable old man that resents everyone. And honestly, his matches were good, but in my mind, he wasn't even the best Hart. It was Owen Hart. Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, I would have said this 5 years ago that Brock Lesnar is heavily overrated, but now that he's been able to completely change his demeanor and his character and everything, I find Brock Lesnar needs a little bit more love because he's putting on some of the best work of his career. Overall, you could say he's properly rated, but I think Brock Lesnar truthfully needs a bit more love. The Ayatollah of rock and rolla, the Ocho, that is Chris Jericho. This man has had more characters and personas than someone with paranoid schizophrenia. This man, multiple personalities, multiple everything. Chris Jericho is a living legend. In my mind, Chris Jericho is so underrated. All the work he's done from when his WCW days happened to debuting in WWE, the work he did with The Rock, some of the best work he ever did was with Stephanie McMahon, and then the feud with Shawn Michaels. Another channel will say their favorite line is, "I am the best in the world at what I do." And honestly, I truly believe that. I think he's one of those ones that he just really keeps reinventing himself. And I truly believe Jericho is going to go down in history as one of the greatest of all times. CM Punk, I want to put him in overrated, but I'm going to slide it down to it's a bit much. It's a bit much now, Punk. You've really tarnished what was that amazing return of yours. It was one of those ones where people were like, "Oh, CM Punk's back, yay!" Oh, he's just a bigger asshole than he was when he was in WWE. And no wonder Triple H and Vince hated working with him. And John Cena gives him all the respect, but says he's one of the most difficult people to work with. So honestly, I hope he has a good final run in AEW, but Punk, it's getting to be a bit much right now. Eddie Guerrero. I don't even need to say it. Eddie Guerrero is one of the most underrated superstars of all time. If it wasn't for Eddie Guerrero, I don't think SmackDown would be the show it is today. If you've ever watched some of the documentaries where people say that Eddie genuinely was that locker room leader for the SmackDown up-and-coming talent like Edge, Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, but they needed someone to be that focal point, that dynamic heel, and that was Eddie Guerrero. God, lost so soon. Genuinely beautiful human being. Eddie Guerrero is so underrated. Edge. After returning from an injury like he did, he's had a couple of really good feuds, but I think we should look at his earlier career and the things that he has done by revolutionizing some like the tag team division and what he's done in the business. I think Edge is properly rated. I don't think that we need to go higher or lower. I think Edge is definitely properly rated. Goldberg, overrated. Moving on. Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, I think he does get a lot of love, but he gets a lot of flack because of his past and some of the choices he made when he was younger. But at the end of the day, I think Shawn Michaels needs some love, because without Shawn Michaels, we're not getting any superstars like, you know, Jeff Hardy, Seth Rollins, these super high flyers, guys that really know how to put on a show. Even though he's Mr. WrestleMania with one of the worst WrestleMania records with, I think it's like 6-11. Somebody fact check that for me, but I'm pretty sure the editor can. 6-11 right here. But yeah, Shawn Michaels is definitely needs some love because he did so much for this business, and that's that. Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, for what he's done with the business, I could put that he's properly rated. But Hulk Hogan did so much to damage this business as well and tarnish his career. I have to say Hulk Hogan is one of the most overrated superstars, next to probably one other that's going to get me a lot of flack in this video. But Hulk Hogan, if it wasn't Hulk Hogan, I'm pretty sure it would have been Macho Man Randy Savage. I genuinely believe that. Savage was better on the mic. He was a better in-ring performer. Hogan just knew how to do business better than anyone else, and that's where Hogan was able to succeed in the wrestling business. He took the right opportunities, but was he a great in-ring performer? Not really. Did he know how to sell the crowd? Absolutely. But is everything, if you did a plus minus on the things Hulk Hogan's done for the business, yeah, I think people are going to be seeing it the same way as me. John Cena. Oh boy. Y'all know where I want to put John Cena, but as a respectful, unbiased wrestling content creator, I'll put him in it's a bit much now. No, actually, I'm going to change that. I'm going to put him in properly rated. Reason being, John Cena has done so much for this business that at the end of the day, you cannot turn away his successes for some really poor times in the wrestling industry. The Ruthless Aggression era was fantastic, but when we moved into the PG era, it was not good. And this is one of the reasons I stopped watching professional wrestling, is that swing. And honestly, like, I give John Cena the credit that he deserves because he was able to carry a company when everyone else couldn't. So I'm going to say John Cena for this is properly rated. Kurt Angle, I'm going to say Kurt Angle needs some love. He came in and he was this Olympic gold medalist that won it with a broken neck. But at the end of the day, he was so much more than a professional wrestler. Kurt Angle was one of those ones that was able to take a gimmick and run with it. The milkman, the little cowboy hat, some of his backstage segments were way better than almost any match he ever had. Like the stuff with Stone Cold and Deborah and Vince, oh my God bless. Like Kurt Angle needs some love, so we're gonna put Kurt Angle right there. Lita, trailblazer, amazing in the ring, ahead of her time. I think she would have been more of a success in this generation than she was back then, and obviously her feuds. But I think Lita's just properly rated. I think there still could have been more done there, but for me, I think she's properly rated. The Macho Man, Randy Savage. Ooh, yeah. Macho Man Randy Savage is, for me, a very underrated character. I think, unfortunately, what we remember from WWE is the very late bits of his career, and then obviously him on commentary, and then him really floundering in WCW, because listen, none of that was really good content back then. And Savage just kind of hanging around with the NWO. Like the Hogan Macho Man Miss Elizabeth stuff was amazing. The match with Steamboat, incredible. But everything else Macho Man did back then in WCW, it was just really hard to get around. But what he was as an entertainer, imagine him now in his prime now. My God, some of the promos that he could cut with the likes of The Miz, Jericho, Rollins, MJF, like the back and forth that they could have. Oh, just he's so underrated, especially on the mic. Mick Foley, I think Mick Foley needs some love. Like everyone loves Mick Foley, but I think they really need to people really need to understand how much he did for this business in a time that a guy that looked like him needed to really shine, and they put the title on him because he was willing to do whatever it took. And that's what we need more of in professional wrestlers. Guys that are willing to do whatever it takes. Mick Foley needs some love. Randy Orton, I personally think Randy Orton should be the one that breaks Ric Flair's title streak. I think Randy Orton's heavily underrated. He is one of, you could really put him on a Mount Rushmore for everything he has done in his career, but I say young career because I've been watching professional wrestling since '89, and you think of all the greats that have come through, and the fact that I could say that Randy Orton should be up there, it just says, again, like Jericho, being able to reinvent himself, new character, even the stuff with RK Bro, it was fantastic. Rey Mysterio. I'm going to say Rey Mysterio, it's a bit much. He's a great luchador. He had some amazing feuds in the 2000s, but really, like, Rey Mysterio's always seemed like that just workhorse that they're ready to use him when they need him. And that's no disrespect to Rey Mysterio, because guys like that are always needed in the business. He is obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer. Being a liaison to the LWO right now, I think is a bit beneath him. But right now, I think it's a bit much because I don't really recall anything amazing that Rey Mysterio's done in like the last 10 years. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair. I'm going to say properly rated. Ric Flair has done so much for this business, but he's also done so much negative for this business as well. But he's also reinvented himself even so late in his career that we could even invite Ric Flair back as a liaison or a valet, or just have him on commentary, not commentary, but like on a backstage segment. And he's just able to keep going. This is his blood. This is what he does. I love Ric Flair. I think he's properly rated. Roman Reigns, tribal chief, a man that has done something that we've not seen in nearly 40 years, a 1,000-day run. The Bloodline storyline could actually be the greatest storyline of all time. Personally believe that. I think people need to show Roman Reigns a little bit more love, because this guy still has at least 10 years in him. If he decides to keep going, Roman Reigns still has 10 years in him, and we can see so much more done with Roman Reigns. It makes me excited to see what could potentially happen with Roman Reigns. So Roman Reigns is definitely in need of some love. Seth freaking Rollins. Again, I think Seth Rollins is heavily underrated. Seth Rollins, for me, is one of those ones where he, like Jericho, can always change his character. If it wasn't Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins would be the number one guy in professional wrestling, or at least in sports entertainment. And he shows that day in, day out. even during lockdown, like a lot of people shit on that Messiah gimmick that he had, where he came out with Buddy Murphy. But I think that was one of his best characters, and just because it was lockdown, it never got the legs that it deserved. But like the Monday Night Messiah, the Beast Slayer, the King Slayer, all these things that Seth has done, he has just reinvented and reinvented and reinvented himself. And now I think we're seeing the best version of Seth Rollins. I think he's heavily underrated. Now we're going to go to the other end of the spectrum. Sting, WCW lifer, a guy that really stuck to his guns and stayed with WCW until the bitter end. And then we got him in the early 2010s with WWE, the feud with Triple H, and obviously with Seth Rollins. I just don't see, maybe it's because the later bits of his career have just been so hard to watch. Like, if you think about it, this man came out with the Ultimate Warrior as one of his tag partners when he first started. Like, Sting was so good. You know what? I'm going to say it's a bit much. It's a bit much with Sting. I'm not going to go overrated. I changed my mind, but I think Sting I just think he's making it worse sticking around so long. That's my personal opinion. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh, God, I think Stone Cold needs some... Stone Cold properly rated. I love Stone Cold. Anything Stone Cold does, I will always support and cheer for. And he proved himself when he came back to WWE for WrestleMania against Kevin Owens. 19 years from retiring, and he's able to come out and pull off a match like that against Kevin Owens, taking a bump flat back on concrete. That just says a lot to him not being able to miss a beat. Granted, gives a lot to Kevin Owens because Kevin Owens did help a lot in that match, but Stone Cold is the Ultimate Warrior. For me, heavily overrated. He was not good on the mic. He was horrible in the ring. I never found him that entertaining. Like, his entrance was the best thing about him. I'm not gonna go down this road too far. It's overrated. I'm gonna say The Rock is properly rated. The only thing that worries me about The Rock, where I don't put him in the underrated or the overrated category, is every time The Rock comes back, he's gonna leave again. So it's really difficult to get behind The Rock nowadays. But everything he did in the Attitude Era and bringing just a new light to professional wrestling, The Rock is so good. He's properly rated. Triple H needs some love. This man has done so much for the business. I don't understand how a lot of people don't have him on the Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling. Yes, competition wise, okay, he didn't have like the big feuds like Andre and Hogan, but he had some classics. Him and Shawn, him and Rock, even the stuff late with him and Rollins, it was so good. I really think things with Triple H and everything he's done outside the business or inside the business for developmental and creating NXT, and what he's doing now, basically making some of the best television we've seen in fucking 15 years. Triple H needs some love. Trish Stratus, it's a bit much. I'm sorry. I love Trish. She's a Canadian girl, but I just can't stand when Hall of Famers come back and stay too long past their welcome. And this whole current thing with Becky and coming back, and I know we were trying to push Zoe Stark with it, but it's really hard to get behind Trish. I loved her back in the day, and what she did for the women's division is incredible, but it's a bit much. Vince McMahon, I'm just going to avoid the hassle. I'm going to put Vince McMahon's properly rated. Vince McMahon created what we love as professional wrestling. He tarnished his career at the end of it and somehow got himself back into his career after tarnishing it horribly. Someone that can do that and then make, $9.8 billion on something that he paid $1 million for. You know what, Vince, hats off, but you're properly rated. Charlotte Flair, underrated. Sorry. Fight me in the comments. Charlotte Flair is underrated. She is one of the best female professional wrestlers that we have ever seen. She is dominant. She has the look. She can cut a promo most times. She's great in the ring as long as she's not trying to no-sell for a thing with Nia Jax. No, she is the absolute total package when it comes to a female professional wrestler. She needs some love because she gets way too much hate. Charlotte Flair is underrated. And the last one, guys, We're going with The Undertaker. Undertaker is underrated. Man had a 30-year career that spanned forever. And it's one of those ones where you sit there and you're like, God damn, I got to witness greatness. I loved everything The Undertaker did for professional wrestling, being able to reinvent himself as the American Badass and everything else in between, the Brothers of Destruction. There is so much Undertaker did for the business that people, I think, don't see, and I really think they need to open their eyes to how good he was. Yeah, okay, he slowed down at the end, but at the end of the day, who doesn't? So that's it, guys. That is the first YouTube video. Guys, let me know in the comments, and if you've stuck around this long, who is the most overrated superstar in professional wrestling history? Let me know in the comments if you stuck around this long. And also, guys, don't forget, like, subscribe, and put the bell on for all notifications that are my YouTube channel, and I will see you in a couple of days with a new video. Take care, be good people.